Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez.
From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing asses says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us, and I am so thrilled to welcome Dan Schaefer, the host of Tuesdays with Josie, the podcast, available wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you don't listen to podcasts, you should listen to his podcast, reminiscing about his wonderful Aunt Josie. Grandma. I've heard it both ways. Are you in the middle microphone? You're in the middle microphone.
I'm in the middle.
Hi.
Am I on? Am I live?
You're
okay.
You're live. Your grandma, Josie. I was thinking about this today, and I thought, well, we haven't. I know you've been messaging me while Declan was recovering from his surgery. You've been very kind, and I was like, oh, why don't I just bring Dan and we can because it's hard for me to catch up with folks. Like through texting and stuff like that.
I was saying I don't know when you sleep at all. So like I just text him like no need to respond. Just making sure you're okay.
That's why I respond during the show. I responded to you like as I was on the air. But you know what's great is coming into the studio and immediately getting a lovely text from a listener. Hold on. I've got too many screens in front of me and too many mice. I don't know which mouse goes to which screen. But Patty, I hope you see this. I've been listening a lot lately. Your station is amazing. You, Lady B, your colleagues, and your callers are the best. Thanks. For having Dan. Oh, for having Dan back on.
Oh,
no, that was that. They just did that. Are you trying to plug in your headphones? Yeah,
we're making it work. It's fine. Yeah, we're good.
I don't know if you can plug into that one. You've got to reach. I don't think that one's going to work. Oh, let's see. Hold on. Can you hear yourself? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
No. Oh, you can hear me. All right, then. Excellent. That's Dan. We're just we're doing some on-air production.
It's fine.
It's all good. A little tech work. So thank you for that lovely text, Mark. And yes, Dan. I know that in the past we've talked about the fact that you watch things like Fox News. Are you still doing that?
I was listening to it on the way in.
You were listening to what? To WLS or
560 AM? Yeah.
The Answer, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
WIND.
Yeah. They're just still. I don't understand. Like, are
they angry?
Yeah.
What are they angry about?
You won.
Right.
Yet you're still angry.
What are they raging about now?
So for me, it's the hypocrisy of everything. Mm-hmm. So, like we have these things called co-equal branches of government, right? And then,
do we though?
So, well, yeah. So like the legislative branch legislates.
We're just rolling over right now.
The executive enforces and the judicial interprets. Mm-hmm. And there have been several instances where the judicial branch has been like, nope, you're breaking the law here. And then they're all going after the judges. Yeah. And it's like, but no, that's not. But when they did that to like Obama and Biden, like Biden and the student loan stuff, and the courts took over that. They were like, yeah, that's fine. No, but now they want to impeach judges. They're harassing judges. They're doing all this. And what did they say? It's on 560, it's a constitutional crisis when a judge goes against the president of the United States. And I was like, no, that's actually called checks and balances. Yeah. That's actually the Constitution.
Which I remember years ago, like I've never been very proficient on Twitter. It's just not my format. But I remember when Trump went out and had them tear gas the protesters, right? And he went out there and held a Bible upside down. And I just tweeted, "Where's the Supreme Court?" Yeah. Right? Because and Rick Wilson retweeted me, and then all of a sudden I had it went not viral, but it was like more that hits than any other one. People liked it. It's like people understood that we're letting. I struggle with this because this isn't where I can't put my energy into what should have happened, in the last 4 years before he rose to power again and made this just chaotic situation. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad that Chief Justice Roberts made a public statement, which he never does. Did they mention Chief Justice Roberts? And
they don't like him anymore.
They don't like him anymore.
No, they don't. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Do they remember that they do vacillate on him because first of all, he also helped create the situation.
Exactly.
When you say that the president has a full immunity, then people that host shows at WIND can use that and say he can do whatever he wants. You're getting in the way of the president and his agenda and all. Like that's not how any of this works.
And when you do Citizens United and companies can just give a crap ton of money, like Elon Musk to elect a president, and then there you go.
Oh, and then pay voters and the whole thing.
So yeah, but no, they don't like him anymore.
Yeah.
So, and that's when it's kind of like when people like critique the Pope, and I'm like, now I know that you're not really your values. I'm questioning your values.
Yeah, and to your point, I mean, and this is what I always think about with how, I don't know, namby-pamby Schumer and Durbin and a bunch of these guys who never wanted to play the game the way Mitch McConnell did, because we have to preserve the traditions and, these are the norms. Nothing has been normal.
Agreed.
No, this is like John Mulaney's bit about how having him in the Oval Office is like when you have a horse loose in the emergency room.
Yeah.
And we don't know what to do. Like, no, but there's a horse.
Yeah.
Just running through. And that's how everyone's reacting.
Yeah.
But now they're like, oh, let's send more horses into the emergency room.
And it's like, look over here, not over here.
It's
like
crazy.
The Department of Education, which largely symbolic, but it is going to impact funding for a lot of states. And
it's going to be worse for red states that have less funding from the federal government. We get more funding.
We get 3-point-something billion, I think.
Yeah, it's 10% of our total budget that we get. In some school districts, actually, it's like half of their funding is from the federal level. And there's like one, like Kankakee has one school district. It's like almost 40% of their funding comes from the federal government. But we are lower than the national average of how much of our school budgets depend on the federal government. So it's going to be red states because we are a donor state. We are actually paying more for those other school districts.
Than we take in,
There's a lot. There's so many things happening right now.
On the way in today, I was just going to be like, Patty, just make it stop. Just make it all stop.
I mean, I don't know. And now people are being charged with domestic terrorism if they attack a Tesla dealership. Like what? I mean, but children being slaughtered in their classrooms is, a Second Amendment protection.
Yeah, they were saying state police and SWAT teams are protecting Tesla dealerships, but school kids are just like, all right, I guess we'll just...
How many guns were outside that classroom and they wouldn't go in because they were afraid? Yeah. As they should be, because that kid should not have had that type of... Okay, let's not get started on that.
All right, we're
And then the other thing is 30 cases, more cases in Texas alone of measles, bringing their rate... I believe they're at 309 in Texas. There's 17 states now, including Kansas, Pennsylvania, obviously New Mexico, and a lot of the states bordering Texas, Oklahoma. So I've been doing work on how many school districts in the state of Illinois are below the herd target of 95%. CPS is at 92.2%, which is solid. Okay. But we do have districts that are under 90%. We have some school districts where the vaccination rate is under 50%.
Oof. Okay.
So I'm just, the number of religious exemptions that have been applied for and granted have risen by 90% since 2015. So this is before COVID. There was already this distrust, what was going on with RFK Jr. actually, and Jenny McCarthy and these people who said that it was causing autism. There are 25,000 religious exemptions in the state of Illinois. And that's not just the number of all the kids that are not vaccinated in the state of Illinois. And the thing is, I don't think people understand because we haven't lived through a measles outbreak like I think we're about to. Because if you think about, if there's 309, I believe just in Texas alone, maybe it's total, but at any rate, it's March 21st. Yeah. Last year, the whole year, 285 cases. I
have this vision of a graph in my head where it's just going to keep just going and going and going and going.
Because internationally, there's also people who are traveling internationally are contracting it. So
spring break is happening.
Oh my God!
So I mean,
So one person can infect 18 people. It can actually stay in the area where people have been exposed to measles for about 2 hours. You can develop symptoms. Not just that, but you can have the effects for you could develop something 7 to 10 years after you become infected. I mean,
7 to 10 years after?
7 to 10 years. Oh, I was reading about a pediatrician who this child as a baby, this high school football player had gotten measles. Now in high school, he developed brain swelling and died within 18 months.
Wow.
I can't impress upon people how contagious and deadly measles can be, and
if only we had a vaccine. I mean,
I'm so angry.
I know.
I'm so freaking angry. We don't trust science. We don't. And a lot of this distrust of the federal government or of our agencies and for people who rely on this, I mean, like, it's like saying I don't trust the traffic lights. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we have certain things in place to go, okay, this is how we're gonna function with each other, right?
Yeah.
And so I get that there are layers of bureaucracy. Is there waste? There is far less waste and fraud than what these guys, these Doge bags, are pointing at.
I love that you just said that. Doge bags. I love that.
I don't know. I can't remember if it was Randy Rhoads or Stephanie Miller's show. But by the way, thank you, Lady B, for letting me know. Randy Rhoads' father passed away, and I was talking yesterday about how it had been repeats, and I wasn't aware. And my condolences to Randy Rhoads and her family. She's such a warrior. I know you love Randy.
I love Randy. I call her show all the time.
Yeah,
I love her.
She is. I love when she gets a caller that disagrees with her. And so,
yeah.
I mean, Lady B. And by the way, Lady B, I know you field these, but if they want to fly, let their stupidity fly once in a while, we can. But if they're angry and they're yelling at you, you put them on. You say, "Pick up now," and I'll put them on the air. And
also, happy belated birthday, Lady B.
Happy belated birthday, Lady B. At any rate, Dan Schaefer joins us in studio. Let me take a look. I probably should let you know what's coming up on the show. Just mostly you and the callers, and we have.
I think we have an accountant, a CPA.
Oh, we have Badu. Yes, we have. I'm very excited about that.
It's tax season, which has been consuming my soul.
Oh my god, I'm not. I can't. It's not.
It's so much fun.
I don't. I'm so torn over the whole thing because is it going to be better or worse with them basically eliminating positions? Because remember, the whole thing was that Biden's arming the IRS and they're coming. We actually were able to capture a lot of money that billionaires and very wealthy people.
So the ones that they're firing are the ones that were supposed to be auditing the billionaires who are not paying their taxes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I honestly cannot wrap my mind around the fact that working class people in red states all across the country seriously believe that these billionaires have their best interests at heart, that anything that they do will improve their lives at all. I'm with you on that.
It is freaking crazy. What to know about the campaign for Trump to pardon Derek Chauvin? Oh yeah, this is happening too. Someone just sent me an article that they want.
I didn't see that.
That they want him to also turn his attention now to Derek Chauvin. Ben Shapiro is urging him to pardon Derek. Is the campaign there?
Because of course.
Yeah, I had no idea that I talked to police officers that I've known for a long time when George Floyd was murdered right in front of us.
Yeah.
And my friends were like, yeah, there's no way that should have happened. That's a bad cop, right? And I can't believe. I mean, I know it's so weird. It's been 5 years, but now it's like he didn't have his knee on his neck. He would. I mean, before we had heard that he was on something, which of course, apparently they did a field sobriety test, and so they absolutely knew. This is always the thing is that they're on something.
Right.
Same thing happened with Laquan. Right, and they said that he was on meth and all these things. And you're like,
he used a fake $20 bill or allegedly,
George
right?
Floyd,
Yeah.
Which brings me back to that another a-hole. I've talked about this guy who's I think he used to work in the White House, some advisor or whatever, the real smug guy who's always eating and like, let me get this straight. Okay. He was in his car. He talked about handing out counterfeit money to homeless people because it serves two purposes. It makes them temporarily happy, and then if they get caught passing it, then they'll get arrested. So essentially, he could lead to the murder of someone like George Floyd. So I'm just
just be kind. Just be a decent human being.
Wow, you're asking a lot
these days. I know. That's why I said make it stop.
Ooh, I have a new thing I have to do, Dan. I have to make sure that every time I'm supposed to hit my brakes on time.
Oh, sorry.
So no. But now you'll know this means that we have about 20 seconds left before we absolutely have to go to break.
That.
I know.
Perfect.
I have to do it manually. Like some people have it like built into their board, so but we're trying to figure that part out. So it's just a matter of me remembering that I have to do this. We'll take a break here. We're hanging out with Dan Schaefer, the host of Tuesdays with Josie. Find it wherever you find your podcast. More after this on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal.
Tom Hartman. Autocrats generally, particularly those autocrats who have narcissistic personality disorder and are sociopaths, as is, in my opinion, Trump, typically do not tolerate high-profile people around them. They want to be the star of the show, and that's certainly been the history of Donald Trump. The only people that he will tolerate around him are people who, when he says, kiss my ass, they fall to their knees.
The Thom Hartmann Radio Program, weekdays 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. on WCPT 820, where facts matter. Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
If you're listening to this station right now, you've definitely heard my voice before. Hi, I'm Hawk.
And I'm Pete. And we're with Source Solar, your local source for solar. Source Solar is Chicagoland's premier solar installer, providing solutions for over 1,000 homeowners and business owners across Illinois and Iowa.
With over a decade of industry experience and deep roots here in Chicago, we have the expertise to help your transition to clean, renewable, resilient energy.
We can guarantee that we save you money day one without any out-of-pocket cost to you. This means you have an instant ROI, instant payback, and can save money to add to your bottom line day one.
At Source Solar, we source everything as local as possible, meaning we always carry the Made in USA sticker.
Find us online at www.source.solar. Stop in our office at 5710 Northwest Highway or give us a call at 773-985-3992.
And don't forget to ask for Hawk
or
and Pete.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
In your communities, in Chicago.
On WCPT 820.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home. Also want to thank our sponsor, Source Solar. You can go to source.solar for more information. And if you check out the Heartland Signal website, you can check out the interview that we did recently and learn more, because I think there were so many great questions. They shared just really a wealth of information. So go to source.solar and find out about the great work that they do. We also want to thank our sponsor, Minocqua Brewing Company, on Tuesday, March 25th. That's next week. Oh, my God, this month is going too fast. Too many things all at once, man. So we'll be at the Minocqua Brewing Company tap room in Madison, Wisconsin. We'd love to see you there. And, of course, visit the website. Sign up for the newsletter. I'll have another piece out on Monday. If you order Woke Coffee Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, I get a percentage of the sales. So if you want to support me and the work that I do there, I'd appreciate it. No pressure. Also, by the way, let me get to all the sponsors, but MinocquaBrewingCompany.com. We want to thank our friends at the Way Back In. March is Problem Gambling Awareness Month, and we are super proud to be welcoming our new sponsor to the Driving It Home family. Are you really winning? Gambling is common in Illinois, with many people taking their chances on the lottery, video game rooms, casinos, or online sports betting. When you find yourself betting and thinking about gambling all the time, when you lose more than you win, and when gaming is affecting your job, relationships, and more, are you really winning? They're here to help you, because you are not alone. Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit areyourreallyWinning.com. I was about to say, Dan, I want to thank folks who've been subscribing to my very first run at writing my book and putting it out there and having public accountability. Somebody said, Steve, thank you very much for your kind words. One of the listeners messaged me and said that they could see like a limited series just based on the first chapter of my. It really is crazy how my parents met. I mean, and so much so that there's even apparently some resentment in my family that I just learned about like a few years ago, that my brother Jesus doesn't believe that this story. He thinks it's all made up, that my mom was coming to the United States, and she had arranged to get a green card. She was going to work here. Her plan was to learn English. She wanted to be immersed in an all Spanish English speaking community. So she didn't move to like Pilsen or any of the traditionally Mexican neighborhoods. She actually, I think, lived like near the lakefront, and I believe like towards Wrigley. Okay. But my brother believes that my mom and my dad like somehow knew each other beforehand and had arranged to meet and like this whole thing. And I don't even know how. Okay. It's very. I didn't realize that until. So that'll be part. I'm trying, and that's what holds me up a lot. Is I have so many people who have experienced sort of, I would say, generational trauma, whether it's my brother who, his mother left to go, learn. He thought they were going to be living in Mexico when she came back. And all of a sudden she's like, no, we're moving to Chicago. So that's hard for me to rewrite what he thinks his story is. And then on my dad's side, my sisters who grew up with my brother Mike, who was murdered, it's very hard. I want to be very kind as much as I can in telling my story. So that's been, I think, what's held me up for decades on trying to write this. But it's such a crazy, wild ride, and it's so Chicago. The story that I have,
it's your book, so you can write it. And the one thing Tom Hartman always says, because Tom Hartman writes a book like every day.
I know. Does he?
He always says, well, yeah, but he always says, start the next chapter before you. So then you have you've already started it.
Yeah, I already started the dad chapter. I thought I was going to take 2 weeks for each one, but I think I can get dads up. And these are all basically like my rough drafts. They're not complete. Like there's a lot more information. Yeah. Like one of the stories I have to work through with my mom too, right? So the difference is I have my mom who lives with us and can sort of go, that's not what happened, right? And I sort of dad's memories are just I have to remember them from the last time he was sharing, because he always was telling stories. Okay. And I wish that, I had been in a place. I recorded some of them when he was sick, but they're sort of frozen in time for me. Yeah. And he can't challenge them, and that's also odd. But I can hear him sometimes. Like, Pat, that's not what happened. All right. I know. I hear. I'm very sensory, sound sensitive, so I hear my parents' story in their voices. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, so you can go to Substack. It's Patti Vasquez Substack. Chicago Girl is the name of the book that I'm working on, and the first chapter is available there. You can just for free if you'd like to do that. If you want to support me, I wouldn't turn you away. There's an option for that too. Jim joins us from Chicago. Hey, Jim, what's on your mind, my friend?
Let me say hello to Danny. You think it's nuts today, Danny? Take the song from Annie. Tomorrow will be crazier. Anyway,
I love hearing your voice, my friend.
Right? Yeah, it's good to hear you too. It's good to hear you too, Danny. But I hope that Carl Rittenhouse, that brave soul, is taking target practice at the moment. He could really go after. Satisfy his bloodlust by killing as many people as he can. And the Proud Boys, because once they pardon Chauvin up in Minnesota, I guarantee you that El Salvador will be loaded with Americans to be disappeared forever. I'm not making. I can feel it. I don't want it to happen, but it looks like it's going to happen. So any protesters, look out for the Proud Boys, look out for Kyle Rittenhouse. He'd be the first person that I'd be after. And when you think about just New Mexico has 45 disappeared people today as we speak. They don't know where they're at. They have no idea where they're at. El Salvador, the prisons in El Salvador make Guantanamo look like the Ritz-Carlton. Looks like the Ritz-Carlton. And Trump today said, anybody who touches a hair on Musk's head or one of his cars or flips off a bumper, they're going El Salvador. The worst prison, if anybody belonged in prison, it's him. He escaped prison like nobody. When history's written, Danny and Patty, 100 years from now, they'll say this was the amazing escapologist because he's escaped every one of our laws. Molesting a woman, you know what I would get for molesting a person and a 50-year-old man. Now I go into Bloomingdale's and I jump into a dressing room with a woman in Chicago. You think I would be out on bond or give me a break? And then 34 felony counts.
I know. Yeah.
He doesn't get touched.
I know.
And he wants to put everybody in prison.
Yeah, this is the maddening part. This is the maddening part of the cult. He can do nothing wrong. If anything, they seem to salivate at the kinds of horrible things that he's done. Yeah, and cheer it, and want more of it. Jim, I've got to get to the break soon.
I know you do.
Thanks.
Yeah, good.
Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend, guys.
Thanks, Jim. Stay hydrated, Jim. It's always weird when I hear myself. I don't know what happens at the end of Jim's phone calls, but I always hear my last thing. Yeah. I always hear my last thing I said, and then I know other people get uncomfortable. Like, I hate the sound of my own voice. It sounds weird. Myrna, one of our listeners, just sent a text. Trump just did away with the Department of Education. It's showing already in that great state. There's an image of the seal of the Supreme Court of Louisiana. Only Louisiana is misspelled, and it's Louisiana. So Louisiana. I don't think that's a direct result, but I mean, maybe we need to
Well, when they say that they have to send education rights back to the states, then I question doing that.
Yeah.
Because Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, they don't have the best education rates.
Well, we're gonna talk taxes in just a moment with our good friend who has been on the show before. I know this is stressful, so for those of you who are like, oh God, I don't want to think about taxes, don't change the station. This is something for everybody. Maybe you've already. And by the way, text me or call me if you've already filled out your taxes. Oh, which reminds me, before the end of this hour, we do have a pair of. Are we giving away another pair of White Sox tickets, Lady B? I'll take a look and see if we're doing another pair of tickets, because I believe we are. Let's take a break here. We're hanging out with Dan Schaefer, the host of Tuesdays with Josie, wherever you find your podcasts. More after this on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. We're gonna talk in just a few moments about taxes. I know you're excited.
Think Theory Radio.
I'm very privileged to have on a special guest, Tim Ains.
We put together a team of experienced investigators. There's certain things that happen to abductees that they all talk about, and people have seen things like missing time, or they might have marks on their body. And it's interesting when somebody in India and somebody in Des Plaines, Illinois, and somebody in Fiji all have the same mark.
Think Theory Radio with Damian Perdue. Saturdays at 6 p.m. on WCPT 820. Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
DuPage County continues to get out the vote and elect progressive candidates, so it's no wonder that there are now several local retailers carrying progressive beer from Minocqua Brewing Company. Be sure to grab yours from Famous Liquors in Lombard, Arminetti Beverage Mart in Roselle, Doty Liquors in Elmhurst, and Bobby's Liquor Warehouse in Carroll Stream, conveniently located next door to the DuPage County Democratic Office. A full list of Illinois locations that offer the Resistance lineup of beers posted at the top of the Patti Vasquez Show Facebook page, as well as at MinocquaBrewingCompany.com.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
In your communities in Chicago.
On WCPT 820.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home. Joining me in studio is my guest co-host today, Dan Schaefer, the host of Tuesdays with Josie, available wherever you find your podcasts. And we talked a few months ago, I think about a month ago or so. Our good friend Jeff Badu is on the line with us. He's a CPA founder and CEO of Badu Tax Services. And we're going to talk about some tips and talk taxes. It's a lot of T's, is all I'm saying. How you doing, my friend?
Doing good, Patty. How you doing?
I'm okay. You must be busy because we're less than a month away from April 15th, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's right around the corner.
So
yes, indeed.
Let's kind of start backwards, I guess, because let's assume people are already like, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make the April 15th deadline. What are their options there? And is it okay to just submit a form that says I'm not ready yet? Extension.
That's a great question, Patty. So basically, anybody is entitled to file for an extension, which basically grants you 6 months extra in order to, file the tax return. And what this does is it helps you avoid the late filing penalty, which is 5% per month if you owe any taxes. If you don't owe any taxes, if you're set to receive a refund, then there is no penalty. But, there's a very, very steep penalty of 5% per month starting April 16th if you don't file an extension. But, however, that does not prevent the late payment penalty, which begins on April 16th, even if you file an extension. And that's the much lower 0.5% penalty, and it's 0.5% of the balance due amount if there is a balance due when you file your tax return.
So are you more vulnerable to being audited or questions raised about your taxes if you file an extension?
I would say not necessarily. There's actually a lower audit rate, basically based on the data. There's lower audit rates when clients file an extension. Of course, not encouraging anybody.
I was going to say, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Okay, all right. So 5%. Yeah, because think about it, folks. Like, let's say you owe $5,000 and you file an extension, but on April 16th, you automatically now have a penalty of $250.
Correct. Exactly.
Look at me.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. Here's your mic. Yeah, doing the math. Okay, so, but it's not encouraged to file extension, even if there's a slightly less percentage of audits. Okay, so now here we are on March 21st. We've gotten all of our, like, people like me who get 1099s. Well, I should have all those in order. But let's say you've been better at keeping track of how much you made and where you made it, and you haven't gotten all your forms from employers or people who hired you for gigs. What's the best way to go and track those down?
Yeah, so if you haven't received all your 1099s, ideally you should be tracking your income throughout the year. And so you want to use something like QuickBooks that basically allows, tracking software like QuickBooks that allows you to track your income and expenses throughout the year. It's very, very good, especially for a gig worker, entrepreneur, 1099, contractor. And if not, then you also have access to the IRS transcripts website, irs.gov/transcripts, where you can pull a wage and income transcript for any tax year. And any 1099 that has your name on it would pop up on that transcript, assuming that they sent it into the IRS. And then ultimately you can use that information to file your income tax return if you don't have a 1099 form itself or you don't use something like QuickBooks.
Dan, you were nodding about the 1099s and gig work. Do you use QuickBooks or something like that?
Yeah, it's a desktop version, but you can do online. But there's several options. Excel is a simple way to do it too. Okay.
So I probably should do that. I'm 30 years into stand-up comedy, and I'm like, I honestly, Jeff and Dan, I have had years where they're like, oh, you didn't file this 1099, and I just go, I call it my stupid tax.
Yeah,
because I'm stupid for not having kept better track.
Also, for folks that want like a free option, Wave.com is actually a pretty decent one that you can use if you don't want to have to pay monthly for QuickBooks or something. So,
Excellent.
For sure.
Some of the things that now we have all these tax and, financial experts on social media when you're scrolling. If I wanted to make $1 million, this is what I do. And then they go through this whole thing about like basically lowering your tax bracket. I would put $7,000 in a Roth IRA. I would have all this stuff. Let's start there with opening up or buying, putting money into a Roth IRA or traditional IRA. How much does that help people with the totals on their taxes?
So it has no impact as far as taxes today, but it does have a big impact in the future. A Roth IRA is an individual retirement account that is not employer-related, is not work-related, that you can set up on your own through a brokerage account. And basically with that, you can contribute up to $7,000 a year. You don't get to write it off or anything like that, so it's an after-tax contribution. However, the money grows tax-free. It can be invested in the stock market or index funds, and it grows tax-free. And then when it comes time to take the money out, preferably in retirement, you don't have to pay any income taxes on that money. So it's a very nice way to build tax-free wealth. It's also bankruptcy protected, meaning any predators that are looking to come after that money, they absolutely cannot touch it.
Oh.
And so it's a very, very nice account to protect your money and then also for it to grow tax-free so that you can get the much-needed benefit up in retirement when you really need that benefit.
So for folks who are, thinking about putting money into it, do you have any recommendations as far as a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA or any insight in that direction?
Yeah, when it comes to retirement, I always recommend saving after tax as opposed to pre-tax. And that's due to, basically the three reasons that I mentioned. But overall, when it comes to taxes, you can take advantage of the lower tax rate today, in that some people think that they will be in a lower tax bracket when they retire, which fundamentally sounds correct. But that's assuming the tax rates will be the same in the future, 30, 20, 40 years from now compared to now. And it's probably going to be a lot higher in the future than it is right now. So it's going to push you ultimately to a higher tax bracket because the scale is going to move. Your income may go down, but the scale is going to go up. And so you're going to end up in a higher tax bracket. So it's better to take advantage of the rates that we know right now, lock it in now, and then allow that money to grow tax-free. So I'm a huge proponent of the Roth account, Roth IRA, Roth retirement accounts, as opposed to the traditional or the pre-tax retirement account.
Excellent. Yes, Dan.
Also, is it accurate that if you have a Roth, God forbid you have some financial emergency, you can pull that money out, whatever you contribute, and that would be penalty-free, tax-free, if you need to get that out to have coverage for emergency expense.
Absolutely. That's one of the benefits of the Roth IRA. I mean, ultimately, you never got a tax benefit for putting the money in, and so taking the money out, there is no penalty. So that's another beauty of it. Of course, you don't want to utilize it in that way, but if it comes to a medical emergency, new baby, whatever the case may be, and you really need that money, you can take it out 100% tax-free, 100% penalty-free as well, at least the principal component of the money.
All right. Now I'm going to remember that. Don't be traditional, be Roth. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I always forget. There's a listener with a question from the 815. We filed our taxes and owe $3,000 to the federal. We owed state of Illinois and paid them off already. Our return has been accepted. The best we can do is pay so much every week. We can swing about $250 a week. How much interest and or penalties are we liable for?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. So the penalty rate is 0.5% per month. And technically the maximum penalty in a given year is 25%, but, you would never hit that if you're at 0.5% per month for 12 months. And so that's pretty much where we're at as far as the penalty is concerned. And then the interest rate, let's just look at what the interest rate is, IRS, right, 2025. And right now we're looking at 7% per annum, right? 7% per annum compounded daily. And so you're looking at basically, if we do 0.5% times 12, which is 6%, and then you add the 7%, right, you're looking at 13% total in terms of between penalties and interest. By the way, penalties can always be waived, and so that's something that we provide complimentary. Any clients that work with us will help you waive your penalties complimentary in full. And so then you would only be left on the hook with the interest, which their analogy is, okay, well, if you were to invest that money in the stock market, you'd probably earn at least 10.5%, which is the going rate for the S&P 500 index fund, which is composed of the top 500 companies in the U.S. And so with that being said, you can take that money, make 10.5%, then it's going to cost you 7%. You just make 3.5% on the government's money, basically.
Mm-hmm. I've been wondering about stuff like that. I'm like, if I, like you get these things in the mail that say personal loan for, 13%. And I'm like, I've been trying to imagine that sort of scenario and where I can make more money somewhere else, put it into let's say a Roth IRA.
Exactly.
And maybe I need to talk to Jeff Badu about my personal, all the things that ramble around in my head. Can I call you at 2 a.m. when I'm doom scrolling and I come across one of these? Jeff, does this one make sense? That's what I think. That's what we need to do is have a segment where I saw this on social media. Are they right?
I thought I was the one when you called at 2 o'clock in the morning.
It's so many. Well, it's going to be you and Jeff. Jeff, I want to make sure for folks who want to learn more about the work. Well, first, let's do this. Do you have anything you want to make sure folks know as we head into the tax deadline?
I mean, when in doubt, file your taxes. And here's the thing: if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And so basically before you file your taxes, meet with the tax advisor, meet with a firm like us and basically do some tax planning. Yes, we can do retroactive tax planning and that we can go back to your 2024, see if there's any tax strategies we can apply for you so that we can help you minimize your income tax liability and ultimately maximize your tax savings to put real money back into your bank account. One thing that's very unique about our firm is whenever you start working with us, we'll go back 3 years. So we'll go back to 2021, 2022, 2023, and look at your tax returns. We'll do a deep dive, run an analysis for you, complimentary, and see if there were any missed opportunities, any missed tax savings. And if there are, we'll give you a proposal, let you know the next steps, the price, and everything like that. And then we'll help you recoup that money and put it back into your bank account. And so overall, when it comes to taxes, you do want to work with a tax advisor. I get it. Yeah, there's the TurboTax and and all the different apps and everything like that out there. They're nice. They're good. But it's even better when you have a sound tax professional tax advisor who's in your corner assisting you and ultimately putting some real money back into your pocket so that the money that you're investing in that advisor, you're making that, let's say, 3, 4, 5 times that money. And that's a much better return than even the stock market, right? So work with a professional, and ultimately, right, you still have time. Right? You still have time to file, and please don't wait until the last minute. It's the worst thing that you can do possible.
Okay, oh, that's good to know. All the previous years, Patti did not. That's kind of warning, so she'll try to get it done this year. If folks want to, when folks are ready, how do they reach out to you, learn more, and hire you or someone in your company?
Absolutely, great question, Patti. And so, easiest way is to call us. Our office line is 773-819-5675. 773-819-5675. If you call, somebody will pick up within 10 seconds and get you information that you need. And, yes, you can call literally 24/7. You can try it if you want. 24/7, even on the holidays. We do have a team that's dedicated to, at least doing an initial call. And then depending on that, we'll see how we proceed. And then also our website, www.badu-taxservices.com. That is Badu, B-A-D-U, taxservices.com. And ultimately, if you go on that website, if you scroll down a little, there's a link to a 1-minute client intake questionnaire. And it will literally just take you 1 minute. This allows you to fill out the information. There's some very, very basic details so that we can get to know you a bit. And then we'll respond back to you, reach back out to you within 24 hours to see how we can best assist you. So those are 2 ways that you can reach out to us at any time.
Outstanding. You've been very helpful. Hopefully we can check in with you not like on the 14th, like maybe
way before.
Maybe on the 8th-ish or something like that. Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. It was great talking to you. Thank you for walking us through this and making it less stressful. You have a very soothing way about sharing this information with us, and we appreciate it.
Thank you, Patti. I appreciate it.
Have a great time. Thank you. Take care. Let's take a break here. We'll take your phone calls when we come back. 773-763-9278. We are in studio with Dan Schaefer. We'll be right back.
Hey, Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
To Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
In your communities, in Chicago.
On WCPT 820.
Thank you so much for joining us as Dan Schaefer and I are driving it home. I know we've got some listeners who've been on hold for quite a bit, so let's get to our phone. Oh, I did want to mention you talked about wave.com, Dan, as an option for accounting. It's actually waveapps.com.
Oh, they changed it. Okay.
Yeah, so there's a wave.com is like a Square, like a point of sale thing, I believe. And then so Wave Apps, and it's got some solid reviews. I've been reading about it on NerdWallet. It's one of my favorite websites for talking about financial things.
And it's just a simple free, if you just need basic bookkeeping stuff.
Right. If you don't want to pay QuickBooks or the others. Yeah. I am driving and I can't write that number down. Hold on one second. Let me get that. So, yes, if you, 773, if you can go to the Patti Vasquez show page on Facebook, there is information about Jeff Badu's accounting firm. And you can get that information there or go to, hold on a second, because if you can remember, the website is BaduTaxServices.com. That's BADU, and then taxservices.com, BADU, taxservices.com. And when you reach out, tell them that you heard Jeff on the radio. Let's get to Roosevelt. Oh, Paul from Seattle hung up. I'm sorry, Paul. I was going to get back to all the calls. There's Roosevelt, who's been on hold. Your calls are being taken in the order they were received, and you are the longest listener on hold. Hi, Roosevelt.
Hello. How you guys doing? Thank you for taking my call.
Absolutely. Oh, yes. Yeah, so you want to talk about the wait. So was this the Mexican activist who was ICE calls detained Denver activist Jeanette Vizguera a convicted criminal alien? Yeah. Did you hear? I'm sorry, Roosevelt. Tell folks about this story.
Okay, but before I do that, I want to fill you in on something that's happened in the Latin community for the past week. I also sent you the Mirka de Llanos. She's a Cuban journalist that about a week ago said that Mexicans are criminals and that the current president has ties with the cartels from Mexico. Now, she's no longer on her show that she had before, which is called Mesa Caliente, which means the hot table. Yeah, and I never watched the show. My mom watches it. So she said this on live TV To say the least, she's no longer on TV because she got a backlash from Mexicans that called up, which is our channel, local channel 44, which is sister station to channel 5, NBC. Okay? She happens to be Cuban American. Okay? The point I'm trying to make is I've always said this on the air, and if I lean towards the fact that I sound racist against Cubans is because I have a base. My base is nobody can, and I've challenged this in Spanish and English, give me a name of a Cuban American that helps other Cubans or other Latinos. They're all in it for themselves. And even the Democrats are crooked, such as the ex-senator from New Jersey. He threw his own wife under the bus. Okay? So it's always the fact that I want to clarify something. White Cuban Americans, because the baseball players are not racist. What do I mean by that is because Cubans, for the longest, I'm going to be 69, for the longest have thought that they were better than Mexicans.
Because I'm not, how can I put this delicately? Because I have close friends that are Cuban and are aligned with, to your point, I'm struggling with this broad brushstroke that we're using because, but because we also, I mean, I've seen it my entire life, being in organizations where the Puerto Ricans have a grief with somebody and the Mexicans have a grief with somebody, and it's kind of part led to where we are now. So one, I want to say to any of our Cuban listeners who are politically aligned, and again, it's almost a personal thing that you're kind of describing about not caring about some. I can't attribute that to an entire population. I'm struggling with this.
I agree. I agree. But here's my point. Maybe I should clarify even further. What I'm trying to say is I'm generalizing to an extent. I'm not saying 100%. But very close to 100%.
Yeah, I think. Well, no, you hold on, Roosevelt. Hold on a second. You just spent 4 minutes on my show painting an entire population in a way that I think a lot of people listening are not comfortable with, and I'm not. Don't brush me back from the plate because I will swing and let go of the bat. Okay.
Oh, wait a minute.
Just saying.
Wait a minute, Patty. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, but I think that you listen to a lot of the Spanish-speaking shows, and I don't blame you for getting outraged and this kind of language you're talking about. Look, I know, it's just, it's not, I don't think it's helpful, I guess is the best way for, the same way I wouldn't let somebody come on the show and spread a lot of other generalizations, right? I just can't get behind this, and I probably should have stopped you sooner so that you wouldn't feel like you have to, I don't want to regurgitate the whole thing. Okay.
Okay, can I respond to that? Okay. Can you give me an example where a Mexican reporter or journalist such as...
Now, hold on a second, Roosevelt. Yeah, I'm not going to... You know what? I think that you need to hydrate because I'm not going to debate this with you. I'm not going to go back and give... we have a listener from Joliet who won't call anymore. Now, Roosevelt, I think we can smooth this over, but because I wouldn't go back and forth on the Bible, something that I'm not interested in talking about the content that I think that is appealing right now and what we all want to deal with. This is you want a whole segment on the show, and this is not... We're not going to do that. I love you, Roosevelt. Have a good weekend. Go in grace. Wait, I didn't mean that last part. I mean, yes. Wait a minute. That sounds weird. We're gonna put a button on our conversation and not go back to. It was a different thing that you said you were calling about. So I had wanted to talk about here without. The rest of it. There are people now. This is what I wanted to talk about, and I get to do that. I don't know.
It's your show.
But there've been several people in Chicago who have been detained, and I wouldn't even say detained is the right word when they're picking people up. They're kidnapping people. One guy who was born in Chicago, he was out trying to get work. He was handing out his resume, and I don't know if somebody called and said, "Hey, this guy with an accent" or whatever. But the guy is 54 years old, was born in the city of Chicago, and was detained for 10 hours. Because what? And this is where my husband's really nervous about my mom, right? I don't know. Wouldn't put it past ICE to hear my mom with an accent. They wouldn't care that she's 90 years old. It seems that they deported a family who was on their way to a hospital visit for their daughter who has a brain cancer, and deported all of them. We don't even know if she has access to the care that she needs. Oh man, I'm hot under the collar, Roosevelt. We're not bringing you back because that was a lot in a direction I don't think is helpful, and that's why we're gonna just move on. Ed in Palos Park, how you doing, Ed?
Yeah, hi, Patty. Thanks for taking my call. Something that's really bothering me lately is the statement, well, I think Trump made it today, about the punishment for people that vandalize Teslas. And also previously Pam Bondi, Attorney General, made a statement about punishment and whatever. Now, what I'm concerned about, as far as I'm concerned, Tesla is a private enterprise.
Right.
Musk is the owner, supposedly, of Tesla. So how does Trump intertwine himself and Pam Bondi intertwine himself with reprimanding the vandalizing of Teslas?
Yeah.
I think it's a violation of the Hatch Act. The Hatch Act has many different interpretations.
Yes.
And I believe this would be one of them.
Yeah.
So Trump should cease and desist from opening his mouth about anything to do with Tesla, about punishment, so on and so forth.
Yep, it's a Hatch Act. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I got to run. If you want to hang on through the break, but I've got to run I'm super late for the news. Thank you so much, Ed. Let's take a break here. We'll continue our conversation on WCPT 820, Heartland Signal. More in a moment.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez.
From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing ass says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Hello, happy Friday. I hope it's happy. I mean, it's at least, it's a way to mark time, I guess, for some of us. Joining me in the studio is our guest co-host, Dan Schaefer, the host of Tuesdays with Josie. And we want to say hello to our friends listening in the evenings on KTNF AM 950, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota. We also, we're broadcasting here in Chicago on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. And if you start to get a little bit of difficulty trying to hear the station on your terrestrial radio, like in your car or in your kitchen, you can always use the TuneIn app. It's a free app you can download and listen to our show. And actually, if there are shows on KTNF you want to hear, you can go back and forth and listen to their station too on the TuneIn app. We also want to encourage you. Dan Schaefer was telling me we've got some new folks tuning in to our Facebook live stream. Hi, new folks. Hi, new friends. If you are watching, you can see that there's a Minocqua Brewing banner behind me. We are going to be broadcasting on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, March 25th, from the Madison Tap Room, and we encourage you to stop by. We had a great audience last time. We obviously have a lot to talk about, and if you do just stop by, you can grab some great Minocqua Brewing Company beer. They have a new, they have a new THC beverage called Joint Session.
Okay.
Jerry pointed out to me it's not called Joint Sessions, but there's a waft of smoke at the end of session, so it looks. I always think it's an S at the end of it, so that's why.
That's cool.
But it's Joint Session. It's orange. It's tasty. It makes me a little bit like the mellow I get is just very sleepy. It's Delta 9, so it's legally sold as a beverage oddly throughout the country. I mean, they haven't.
I mean, this is a family show, so we have to be able to. Yeah.
Okay. Exactly. So at any rate, go to MinocquaBrewingCompany.com and sign up for their newsletter because you can read my piece every Monday from Mocha Monday. And if you buy some Woke coffee after you open that and read that newsletter and you like what you read, you can support me by making an order. We also want to thank our friends at Source Solar. Go to source.solar and learn about the great work that they do. Have you ever thought about getting solar panels? Is it something you?
I actually just had them installed last week.
Did you really?
I did.
Get out of here. Yeah. That's amazing. How long did it take you to make the decision? Like years? I mean, had you been like researching it?
8 months.
Oh my God.
My mother had them installed, and I was just kind of like, I'm just going to see how this works out. And
she was your canary in the cave.
I think she's listening. So
Hi.
she's probably,
Hi, Mom.
Yeah. No, and she had no complaints about it. And it literally, we had the greatest team there. And it took 3 days, 2.5 days.
Yep.
Super pleased with everything.
Excellent.
And once the city finalizes all the inspections and stuff, we can go onto the solar panels. And
how low is are your mom's bills?
They dropped. Yeah, like ours are a lot because we have the carnival.
Big house.
Well, we have the carnival business and stuff. So I've got like 4 freezers running at every given time.
You make the funnel cakes, right?
Yes, yeah. Nice. So it's going to save us quite a bit of money.
Excellent.
And we did it. I signed the contract while Joe Biden was still president.
Okay.
So I was able to take advantage of the federal funding.
There you go.
And now I think everything is pretty much dried up at this point.
Well, our friends Peter and Warren can walk you through that whole process with a source.solar. And that's great to hear. I actually got my first, we've thought about solar too, but this winter has been so wacky.
Yeah.
I got my first under $100 electricity bill that I can remember, like, I don't even know, since the 90s.
Okay.
Honestly, because I was just so surprised.
And I will tell you, like, they are super professional, and they know the ins and outs and stuff, and answer all the questions and do all the things. And
Awesome.
So if it's something that would work, then I would say pursue it and research it. Yeah.
I love it. We also want to thank our friends at the Way Back In. We've been talking about March as the Problem Gambling Awareness Month, and we are proud to welcome to our Driving Home family, Are You Really Winning? It's an important campaign. I know some of you are hearing me talk about this in the background. I've mentioned my own personal experience with my father's gambling addiction. It truly is. I can't, having seen him go through being a nicotine addict, and he was an alcoholic, it had that same sort of energy behind it for him. If you hit his cigarettes, I mean, like, he couldn't function. When he quit drinking, it was hard for him to get through. Well, and it was hard for him to stay away from booze. He finally beat that habit and then turned to gambling, and it was very painful. And it was something that affected our family for years. And I loved my father very much. So I want you to know, if you are dealing with this, you are not alone. And there is help out there. So please go to areyoureallywinning.com or call 1-800-GAMBLER. And we, our friends from Kids Above All, who we are so grateful for their support. We are going to do a comedy show coming up in June. I don't know if it's going to be the 5th or the 12th, but mark out those dates for our comedy show, Stand Up for Kids. All right, let's get back to the phone calls. Oh boy, I don't know how I feel. I don't know if my regulars are going to be nervous about my aunt taking their calls. For folks who are just tuning in, one of our favorite listeners who calls in, Roosevelt and I we got into a tussle, and I decided to move on because we had spent a lot of time sort of going in a direction that I just don't think is helpful. And so Roosevelt, listeners are texting, thank you, we love you, Roosevelt, but that seemed to be going a little bit. There were absolutes is what I was having trouble with, the close to 100%, or they all are, and I don't think we're already in a place of blaming each other. I'm not saying we can necessarily bridge things in all directions with different communities, but we certainly don't need to make it worse.
Sure.
All right, let's get to Dave in Hoffman Estates. Hey, Dave, how are you doing? Uh-oh, he's hydrating. Hold on a second, let me get my beverage as well.
Yeah, you betcha. I got to give you a little of that Eupanese there. Nectar of the gods.
I'm so glad I didn't spill any of that on my microphone.
Hey, Patty, Dan, did you happen to see the story now, like where Finland and Denmark, they've issued travel warnings for the U.S.?
Yep.
And I guess Germany and Britain, and that they also threw on into that now because of how response to Trump with his large-scale crackdown on illegal immigration and trans rights for transgender and non-binary people.
Well, and I think that it's that, and then also if you go to Texas or New Mexico, you might get measles. So, I mean, I don't blame them for trying to warn their citizens.
Well,
about travel.
That's also happening internationally with the measles outbreaks too. But to the United States, I mean, if you're seeing that people are being basically abducted by ICE, I don't know, and it's a movie like horror.
Even a federal judge saying return these folks, and the plane still goes. And they're like, no, you have no jurisdiction.
Yeah.
He did have the jurisdiction to say return that plane, but they didn't do it. Mm-hmm. So,
And these people, the Finns, my people, they're the happiest people in the world. They just got voted 8th year straight. I don't know if you happen to see that or not. But,
Also, they have a one-page tax return, so that's also probably why they're the happiest country in the world. So, Excellent.
And then the health care, people are very happy with that. And then
they're one of the most liberal countries, because I always kept thinking about back when President Obama was running, how our country was all wigged out because of the black man. I mean, this man they had an openly gay candidate. He came in second. So, I mean, they're very, very liberal in their thoughts and stuff. But I was watching last week. I was going to try to get through earlier to you on Monday. And I don't know, you ever watch Have I Got News for You on Saturday? The one with the comedians, Roy Wood Jr. and Michael Ian Black.
I've never watched it, but I'm familiar with it.
But that Michael Ian Black, he is very sharp. And they had like a question, and they said, what in the northern border has they've been getting busted with? And they said it's not fentanyl in that. And it turned out eggs. People trying to smuggle eggs in.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely a prized item, so that's horrible.
And then they were saying after they catch them with it, and the eggs they destroy them, they incinerate them instead of letting people get some eggs.
Wow.
Then there's a shortage. I just thought that was really
That's
dumb.
wild. That's wild. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing those stories. Sorry, I've got to run to the break, my friend.
Yeah, no problem. Be well. Have a good weekend, guys.
Take care, Dave.
Thank you. I wanted to make sure I get to some of these texts as well. I'm not familiar with the plans for April 5th quite yet as far as WCPT. Our friend Jeff in Budlong asks, is there any chance that WCPT is going to be involved in the Day of Action on Saturday, April 5th at the Daly Center? So I will look into at least, if that's a Saturday, I'm so focused. One, there's a lot of things going, all the plates, but we've been going back and forth to Wisconsin trying to focus on that race, so it might be easier for me to turn my attention to this Day of Action. I know that people are going to Washington, D.C. as well. It's funny. I think Tom and I are, and so again, I want to say hi, Roosevelt. I hope you're okay. But I think Tom Hartman and I are at this point with folks who call with, again, with their vision of things. And this one woman calls every day. Have you heard her where she's like, well, we've got to have a general day of strike. And Tom's like, well, are you going to organize this? Like,
yeah, right.
And so the protesting is important. I do think when Jim mentioned in the first hour about, how they are basically going to try to make protesting illegal. I mean, I'll tell you, I've been at protests where I've looked around like through that cavern of high rises and thought, somebody could be in one of those windows.
Absolutely.
And that was years ago. Yeah. After Roe v. Wade was overturned, I was kind of, because that's what we're dealing with, are fanatics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Las Vegas. Mandalay.
Oh my God.
It just takes one person, like you said, in a high rise.
Exactly.
And
And it's not like we're giving people ideas. It's that it's a real concern.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. April 5th, pledge to mobilize everywhere. There's also a women's march. Nationwide protests. I'm trying to find, I don't see Daly Center for Chicago. So as soon as I'm sure that we'll have a lot of organizations in the Chicagoland area who will be involved in promoting that. We'll make sure that we have information here.
I'll be there.
I don't know if I'm ready to be in crowds again.
Oh,
like in protest crowds. Yeah. Like the last time I was really kind of nervous. I've been in a lot of situations where you, like after the Pulse shootings, remember how we were at the Pride Parade and the presence of, SWAT and it was daunting.
When they put the garbage trucks and stuff and snow plows in front of intersections and things. Yeah, no. But I'm never going to not be out there. That's what
God bless everybody who does. I've been to I remember when they were doing the I have to run to the break. We'll talk about the Muslim ban and what seems to be coming, but the protest then. Let's take a break here. We'll continue our conversation on WCPT 820, Heartland Signal, and KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota. We'll be right back.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
If you're listening to this station right now, you've definitely heard my voice before. Hi, I'm Hawk.
And I'm Pete. And we're with Source Solar, your local source for solar. Source Solar is Chicagoland's premier solar installer, providing solutions for over 1,000 homeowners and business owners across Illinois and Iowa.
With over a decade of industry experience and deep roots here in Chicago, we have the expertise to help your transition to clean, renewable, resilient energy.
We can guarantee that we save you money day one without any out-of-pocket cost to you. This means you have an instant ROI, instant payback, and can save money to add to your bottom line day one.
At Source Solar, we source everything as local as possible, meaning we always carry the Made in USA sticker.
Find us online at www.source.solar. Stop in our office at 5710 North Northwest Highway or give us a call at 773-985-3992.
And don't forget to ask for Hawk
or
and Pete.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
In your communities, in Chicago.
On WCPT 820.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home. Joining me in studio is the host of Tuesdays with Josie, Dan Schaefer, and also you know him from the Politini that broadcast right here on WCPT. We want to thank our friends listening on KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul, and of course all of our sponsors for making these conversations possible. Dan, I was talking about a listener asking about the Day of Action. Mm-hmm. I know I should know more about more things. In particular, people who are organizing around an event on April 5th. So another listener says, if you do hear anything, please share the information. So let me get, I'm getting too many texts, so I can't keep track of what was where. Hold on, I'm going to get a lot. No, April 5th. No, that's not it either. People are texting me too fast tonight, Dan. What just happened? And I love the comment, he said not to be a doge bag, but you guys should really know about this. And that's fair. You're not being, it's a kind of, I got salty. So I think I will
rightfully
take that salt.
so. You did.
That.
Yeah.
Here we go. So here are some links. Hands Off. One of the links to find out more about the National Day of Action is Hands Off 2025. That's handsoff2025.com. So the different groups involved. I figured I was going to say Indivisible Chicago, but I didn't want to speak for them. And I'm sure we'll have Patrick, one of the board members, on soon to talk about that. So Indivisible Chicago, Move On, and Hands Off are some of the groups involved in organizing. Let's see, Third Act. So thirdact.org, we actually talked to folks from Third Act because they came in and were talking to us about, and this is a lot of seniors, I believe, who are involved in this, and they've had it, and I don't blame them, and they are in the 0 F's given stage, I guess, of life. So yeah, that's handsoff.org is another landing spot for learning about mobilizing on April 5th. And let's see, yes, there's a bunch of stories. You can go to the Daily Cause, and there's an article breaking April 5th. There will be nationwide protests.
And I think it's just important to note that the fact that you had to struggle to find all of these sources is the fact that there are so many people trying to organize.
Right.
And you were talking about seniors. I think veterans are going to be they're gutting the VA. They're all of these things, right? Yeah. So there are just so many people trying to organize, and so I think the important piece is the other Dan Schaefer, who's in Wisconsin, is helping save democracy in Wisconsin. But find a local organization that you can partner with and volunteer with. And it could be doing a march. It could be phone calling. It could be sending postcards. It could, it's all of those things that we need to be doing. Yep. Because again, the past election and the one in 2016 was decided by 80,000 votes across a country of 300 million. So you just need to contact people and be like, hey, they just gutted the VA. So what?
Say the things.
Yeah, exactly.
Say the things.
Yep. Yeah.
Tell them why they're being, who's hurting them and why.
Right. Yeah. And Social Security, Medicare, exactly. And that's get people to vote. That's it. Yeah. Get them out the door.
Oh man, I know. We were talking about the April 5th Day of Action being organized around the country. One of our friends in Evanston says, I've been online shopping for hockey masks and safety helmets for the rubber bullets, meaning high velocity hockey pucks, thinking we will need metal grid behind plastic shield. Don't want someone grabbing the grate and need protection from spray or tear gas to the eyes. Not how I thought I'd be spending the twilight years. Maybe I'll play sports again. I can get family or group discount on masks. Play It Again Sports is a resale sporting goods store. So one of the things I had scheduled and then had to cancel because I got busy doing other things. I think that what I might have to do, okay, let me go backwards. I was a lifeguard in high school, so I had I had training in first responder, first aid, right? So from, obviously the CPR, but also tourniquets and all kinds of stuff like that. And I think one of the things I would like to do is if I'm going to be involved in a protest, I'd rather be someone who can help triage if in case of any sort of violence. Yeah. All this. So I've been putting together, actually have some elements of kind of a first aid kit. Some of our friends from Daruma, one of the independent films that we profiled last year, they had sponsors, and we got like this basically a survival pack. So I'm using elements from that for a first aid kit, like one of those mylar blankets and some of the things that you might need. But so I've actually been watching videos about how to apply a tourniquet, because they stopped teaching that for like the level I was at, because then you risk a chance of losing a limb because someone's tied a tourniquet too tight. And there's not blood flow and that kind of stuff. So at any rate, find a way that you want to support the folks that are doing the organizing. Let's get to Paul in Seattle. Hey, Paul, what's on your mind, my friend?
Well, I'll give you the good news and the bad news real quick here. The good news, I'll give you the good news first. The good news is I was kind of in your neck of the woods, at least closer than I usually am. I was in Kansas City this week for a citizenship oath swearing in federal court. 352 brand new citizens from 71 countries. I went to, one of them was, associated with my family or my peeps, and I was really surprised how moved I was. I just thought it was going to be. It was like when we got there. I felt like. I was wearing a hoodie and jeans, and I thought, people were dressed to the nines. The families, and you got in there, and I felt like this is like being at 352 weddings all at the same time. People were so proud. These people and their families, and of course we were. We had a person there who swore and finally got citizenship, and I just thought this was just. I was very moved. I think when they asked us to sing, say the pledge of allegiance to the flag and sing the national anthem, I probably was the loudest person in the auditorium. I really belted it out, and I was happy to do that. But so having said that, I'll make my segue this way and say that I would trade 10,000 MAGA immigrant haters for every one of these people.
I know.
Yeah.
And so this is the deal. This whole thing with Trump disappearing people, this is extremely serious. Extremely. Not only the constitutional violations, but if Trump is passing this off as this is a war, we're being invaded, well then he is committing war crimes.
Right.
I want to point out.
Violating human rights. Yep.
That's a valid point.
There were no relocation camps in Germany. They were in Poland and in Austria, so that the German people didn't know.
Right.
And so what Trump is doing is disappearing people. I don't care if there's any more other than what we know about, to El Salvador, and you damn well know he's paying this dictator who's also guilty of war crimes. And you know what we need in this country? We need people to understand that our next leadership and where we're going, it's got to be people who are willing to turn him over to the Hague, to the World Court.
Absolutely.
Some freaking accountability. Otherwise, we are in danger of this happening again.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, I'll tell you, when I was at Michigan State, a student there was a professor who used to say, he was an expert on the Holocaust. He said, don't think this can never happen again. This only happened about 20 years before you were all born.
Yeah, exactly.
When your parents were young.
Exactly.
And it's not ancient history. It can happen again.
Yeah. Thank you for the call and for sharing your thoughts. Have a great weekend. Okay, Paul? Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks, Paul. Take care. Let's take a break here and continue our conversation when we come back on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal and KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Hi, this is Patti Vasquez. We appreciate all our fans of Driving It Home, and your support of show sponsor Monaco Brewing Company ensures that our important conversations continue right here on WCPT each weekday from 5 to 7 p.m. You can now find the Resistance IPA, Labor Lager, or the Resistance Pilsner beer at several Illinois locations, including Arminetti Wine and Spirits in Woodstock, Pineapple and Company in North Riverside, Lions Beverage Depot in Arlington Heights, and MP's Liquor, Wine and Beer in North Aurora. For a full list of Chicagoland locations, please visit MonacoBrewingCompany.com. As always, please vote and drink responsibly.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
In your communities in Chicago.
On WCPT 820.
Thank you for joining us as we continue to drive it home. Joining me in the studio is the host of Tuesdays with Josie, available wherever you listen to podcasts. That's Dan Schaefer. And by the way, happy anniversary to you, your first date with your now husband. Yes? No?
Yes.
You posted this week, I believe.
14 years ago we met on our first date.
So we
didn't meet on our first date, but it was our first date. Yeah.
I love this story that you let him believe that you had the Brow House was a new experience.
Yeah, Chicago Brow House in Lincoln Square. I miss that place.
I love that place so much.
So it's actually a really cute story. He thought that he was bringing me to a place that I've never been to. He was also 20 minutes late, and I will always remind him of that.
But he was picking you up, or you were meeting there?
Picking me up. Yeah, 20 minutes late, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, "Is this happening?"
Did he change his mind?
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. Oh, but he's on gym time. He's always late. But he brings me to the Chicago Brow House because he found this German restaurant that could give Schweinhaxen, which is his favorite dish in the world. And we walk in, and the owners, the waitresses, they all know me because I go there every weekend, right?
Oh my God.
Every Friday I go.
Well, so why didn't you tell him? I've been here before.
Because I like to keep him the element of surprise, you know?
Oh,
but
so
I knew.
You were going to go as a rock star?
As soon as he said that, I was like, I know where you're taking me. And so Gunther and Harry and Susan and Christy, everyone, they're like, Dan. And he just looks at me like, who are you? And I was like, they know me. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's
and
so
we
sweet.
just had the best dinner. And he tells me this all the time. And I also say it. I was like, that first date. And I was like, I'm going to marry this person.
Aww.
Absolutely. It was a good first date. And it was 14 years ago yesterday. So, yeah.
Oh, happy one day after your anniversary of your first date together.
Yeah.
You know, I always feel bad because Steve remembers all the dates. I don't, I can't.
I have them on my calendar.
I don't.
Otherwise, I don't know. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He used to keep track of our first date. And it was very fun. I loved my first date.
Good.
It was very good, yes.
Good.
And actually, we went for lunch. I think we did that, let's try lunch first kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And then he was like, do you want to go to the movies tonight while we were at lunch? So we had 2 dates in the same day.
That's cool.
And then we made out for hours. At any rate, I mean, it was...
Family show,
I'm
Patty.
just saying,
Family show.
We made out in front of the Crate and Barrel at Old Orchard. He was like, my parents have this picnic set. And the next thing I know, it was like, we're making...
That's amazing.
It was very sweet. Hi, sweetie. We're celebrating our 25th wedding anniversary this
Good
summer.
for you.
Yeah, July will be our 25th.
Oh my goodness,
isn't that crazy?
That's awesome.
I'm sure a lot of people are like, no way, she's not an angry divorced bitch.
Oh my God,
I get that in my DMs. I bet you're an angry divorced.
You've been posting some stuff, and there are some. Dark people out there.
But I do think that my videos talking about what I will do, which is dedicate 25 more doors to every mean thing you say, has iced a lot of that activity. So,
absolutely.
And who knew? It was so easy.
So you're going to do that.
See,
I'm going to keep trolling people on Truth Social, and then we'll just keep doing that. Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
Let's get to our calls. Derek is calling from Elgin. Hey, Derek, you're on with me and Dan Schaefer. What's on your mind?
Hi, Patty. Hi, Dan. Happy Friday to you all.
Happy Friday.
I kind of joined you a little late. I was on a Zoom call with Indivisible, NWSOFA,
Excellent.
and
Cool.
they do it every Friday. It's an open Zoom call. We get people all over the country, and I caught the tail end of the first part of your show, and it was like, I guess the subject was, where do we go to find out where rallies and stuff are?
Yeah, for April 5th, the day of action is where folks want to know more about.
Yeah. And frankly, there's a one-stop shop as far as I'm concerned. Just go to indivisible.org. And once you get into their national webpage, you can type in your zip code, and you can find indivisible groups in your location where you're at.
Great.
And it's so important. And the follow-up on Paul's comment about disappearing people, something we got to worry about here in the very near future is muting our voices. What I'm reading with this fascist movement on the right, I won't even call them Republicans anymore because they are not Republicans. This is a fascist movement to take down our country. I don't have to explain every agency that they're attacking makes up the fabric of how great our country is. And we need to get people in the streets. So that's why I'm encouraging people, if you don't know where to go to indivisible.org. We need to get millions of people in the street and voice our objection to what is happening to our country. This is ridiculous.
I would agree.
I agree. Thank you for that. Indivisible.org, just right? Indivisible.org?
Yes.
And they talk about they talk about how quickly it took Hitler to essentially take over Germany, and it was like 80 days or something. So it's kind of like
right
look
now.
over here, not there, and they're doing all of the things.
All the things.
Yep. Yeah, Dan, you're absolutely correct. I mean, Bannon said it. We're flooding the zone, and there's so much crap going on. We can't keep it all straight.
Right.
That's why it's so important that we stay engaged and join together and get more and more of our neighbors and friends to join us. We got to get out on the picket line. I was at Schaumburg's post office yesterday. Granted, there were only 12 of us, but 12 next time it may grow to 24. So we've got to stay engaged. We've got to stay together, and we've got to come out and fight for our freedom. Otherwise, we could lose it in just another couple of weeks.
Yeah. I appreciate you bringing this to our attention of the best place to go to one landing spot, because if you go to indivisible.org, you can also find out where the groups are in your neighborhood. As you mentioned, Derek, there's one for Northwest Side now, and they have regular meetings. We've had one of the board members on. We'll have him on again because I think Patrick did a great job of breaking things down with us. And they are doing a lot of calculations and going into red areas, phone banking into red districts, and basically saying, are you aware that this is happening, that you are going to be hurt? There's going to be Social Security is vulnerable, Medicaid, Medicare. So you guys are doing a lot of work. So thank you for bringing that to our attention and for doing a lot of the work with those groups, with Indivisible.
And save the post office.
Yep.
Yeah.
We got to save everything. Everything. All right, Dan, Patty, have a great weekend, and we'll chat again.
Thank you so much. Stay hydrated. Let's get to Mike in the south suburbs. Mike, are you staying hydrated?
Hey, I'm trying to. Well, it's after 5 o'clock, so I'll stay hydrated with a different type of beverage.
That's fair. That's fair. Just alternate with a little bit of a little H2O as well.
Exactly. Yep. I'm enjoying the show. Hey, listen, I just wanted to ask you guys, if you guys saw the video of the Sean Casten, the congressman from Illinois, and he was getting really kind of bombarded by a group of people who were concerned about what's going on in Gaza. And it's amazing to me how people will, still, and he almost said to the point where, he's on the other side, they're not in power now. There's not much they could do. And then, asking the question, why were people kind of attacking him when, they've always been an advocate for trying to, bring some common sense to that whole issue. I don't know if you got a chance to see that.
What my understanding of the people that were yelling during Sean Casten's town hall were yelling, and particularly one man who they had to end the event because he jumped up on the stage, was saying you were bought by Israel. I mean, it was a singular thing, and I don't even think that. And Congressman Casten was like, we will do a Q&A. Please, try. We can't have this conversation And look, we're seeing this all over the country where Republican electeds are being yelled at, and we kind of enjoy that schadenfreude for them. But at the same time, like now we're seeing like when it's happening at an event where you know, we can explain what the path is, it's not helpful, and that event had to be canceled. But you mean, are you asking about Kassen's response on some of these things, that we're not in power anymore, there's not much we can do? Because I feel like there's several different elements of energy from different people. But is that what you were calling about?
Yeah. Because I just think it's ironic, though, in that, you know, because I think during the election we were telling people that, you know, who may have voted for, you know, Trump and the Trump administration, is that, you know, if you think things are challenging now, just wait until those guys get in.
Yeah.
And I think what they've done relative to the Gaza issue is has far more lingering consequences than anything that was done when, you know, Joe Biden was in. But it just seems like, you know, I don't know. It's just like, you know, just across the board. Instead, I think they're attacking the wrong people. You know, right now, you know, the Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the presidency, and we've seen what they've done relative to Gaza, you know, since they've been in office. I just thought it was strange.
It is, and this is part of the, you know, the struggle of being a liberal, is that we come at this. There's so many different sort of, you know, we're not lockstep. We're not in a cult, right? So we don't have like one agenda. It's not just you're killing babies or the immigrants are eating cats and dogs. Like, we don't fall for stuff like that. Yes. So it makes it much more complicated on what people get enraged about, how they you know, develop a strategy. That's the hard part about, you know, not falling in line. Yeah. With every single thing. Right. And that's how, unfortunately, it's also how we friggin' lose.
That's true, because the other side is a cult.
And that's kind of where I was going with that.
Yeah.
You know, that we almost shoot ourselves in the foot because we're fighting, you know, amongst our own group instead of focusing on what the real issue is. And that's how they got in with this last election, of course, probably with a lot of, you know, election cheating and fraud and that. But, you know, that's a different subject.
Yeah.
An entirely different subject.
And that's, again, that's the struggle. Yeah. Well,
hey, thanks for taking my call. Appreciate it. I'll listen to the rest of the show.
Thank you. Have a great weekend, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Stay hydrated.
Bye-bye.
It is after 5. Let's take a break here. We're hanging out with Dan Schaefer, the host of Tuesdays with Josie, and I'm grateful to have you in studio, guest co-hosting, and we'll continue our conversation on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal and KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
In your communities, in Chicago.
On WCPT 820.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm in studio with Dan Schaefer here on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. He is the host of Tuesdays with Josie, available wherever you listen to your podcasts. And we're taking our phone calls in the last segment of the show as we head into the weekend. I will be in, I'm going to be in, we're not sure in Lake Geneva, but I'm going up to Wisconsin to campaign for Judge Susan Crawford and that Supreme Court race. Folks, if you live in Wisconsin, early voting has started. Your election is on April 1st. Please tell everyone you know you have got to vote. Yep. Myrna, you're on the air. Are you staying hydrated, my friend?
Actually, I am. I'm cooking and drinking. So I'm not sure.
Had a girl.
I don't know how my dinner's going to turn out, but I don't care because I'll be drunk by the time I eat it. Okay.
Julia Childs was a master, and she tipped a couple 2-3 bag. Are you calling to chastise me for shutting down your cousin Roosevelt? I think they might be cousins. I feel bad.
No. I actually wanted to clarify something. The program he's talking about is the same format as The View. There are 5 hosts, co-hosts. They give a headline, and then they'll comment on it.
Right. So for folks who don't know, for folks who weren't listening in the first hour, Roosevelt called in to talk about how a Cuban commentator on this show that Myrna is talking about said that all Mexicans are criminals and said that the president of Mexico is part of the cartel, all these different things, and then went on to talk about how Cubans are always working against our interests, and it was too much of a broad strokes in that regards that I needed to put a pause on that conversation. Go ahead, Myrna.
Okay, so Mirka Llanos gave the headline. She read it, and it was, first of all, she is a big-time Trump supporter. She drops hints all the time, pretty much every day on the show. I don't like her, not just because of that. Well, not so much because of that, but because she thinks she's high and mighty, and she's always talking over the other co-hosts of the show. She thinks that she's the only one who has the right opinion. She read the headline where it says, this comes from the U.S. government. It says that this, and that about the Mexican president being part of the cartel, that she's associated with them and all this other stuff. And then she inserted her personal opinion and said, and it's true, because all the people that come from Mexico say the same thing. So the co-hosts all went off on her to shut her up. And they were clarifying that you can't say something like that. You have no proof of it. And she said, no, but the Mexicans that I speak to and have spoken to, that have said the same thing. And I'm like, you are such an idiot. Who are you to make a comment like that based on, 2, 3 Mexicans, if you even know any Mexicans personally, to say that? So she was given the opportunity. You could tell they were so mad at her. Mainly because one of them is Costa Rican, but she considers herself Mexican because Mexico opened the doors to her, and her career jumped when the co-host started her show, not her show, but co-hosting the show in Mexico. There's another one who is a part-time co-host. She is Cuban. Her name is Aileen Mujica. She calls herself, even though she's all Cuban, she calls herself a Cuban Mexican, because Mexico also, her career catapulted thanks to what the doors that were open to her in Mexico. I didn't know that she was a Trump supporter until the day after the election. She has never said anything in favor, actually she said a couple things against him, but you would never guess she's a Trump supporter. And she wasn't on the show that day. So the other ones, they had to go to a commercial break because it got so chaotic. The show gave her the opportunity to rebuttal. She blames it all on. It's just what I was reading. I just read what was given to me.
That's right. It's the last thing I saw. Right. Yeah, Amir, I'm not familiar with this show. I know that it demonstrates sort of this. The Latino voice. Well, we're not a homogenous group, right? And so, at any rate, we're kind of going long on this. What did you want to get to?
No, I just wanted to say, like you said, we can't generalize.
Gotcha.
When that's a group. It's not fair because that's what's being done to us by Trump, calling us drug dealers and murderers and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
So to the Cuban community, if anybody heard that, no, we don't think the same way. I'm speaking for myself on this one. I don't think the same way. Everyone is different. Everyone gets an opportunity to prove who they are. That's not the opinion that's shared by all Mexicans about Cubans.
And right. Thank you for putting that better than I was feeling. I felt a little clumsy because I needed to shut it down. And I know that, look, I get that some folks are very comfortable, and it's very nerve-wracking to call into a show. But we also need to be mindful of, everyone's listening. This is for everyone. And if we're in this sort of, space of saying all one group does something, to Myrna's point, we are, dehumanizing somebody because we have this feeling. To Dan Schaefer's point, when he said 100, not 100%, but maybe close, you said that's not how stats work.
There's a really good book called Lies, Damn Lies, and Statistics. That's basically what it is. It's numbers. It's not 100%.
Right, and that made me. I thought that was a step too far and a little too comfortable with having the time that you get on the show. So thank you, Myrna, for sharing that. I appreciate it.
And thank you for allowing me to clarify things.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Thank you. And the other thing is, when you go on about something that we're not able to get a grip on, I forget to give away tickets. So we are so excited because I'm so excited that baseball's coming back. I know that you don't watch the balls. Not that. You know what I mean?
Family show.
I'm just saying. Okay. But at any rate, White Sox baseball is back. You can join us at Rate Field for opening day on March 27th. The White Sox take on the Angels at 3:10. The first 20,000 fans are are receiving a 125-year anniversary blanket presented by BMO. Great single game tickets are available. Book a group outing or upgrade to a private suite for an unforgettable game day experience. To learn more and purchase opening day tickets, visit whitesox.com/opening day. We have a pair of tickets to give away to I'm going to do the third caller, 773-763-9278. That's 773-763-9278 to have a chance to win a pair of tickets. I have to read this part. Contest running at WCPT 820 are open to listeners 18 or older and residents of the greater Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana area. One entry per person, one winner per household. Void where prohibited by law. Listeners may only win or qualify to win once every 30 days. Complete rules are available on our website at WCPT820.com by clicking on the contest icon. You don't remember those commercials? You don't remember those commercials from the 80s? The Nissan guy who talked really, there was a guy who talked really fast. Did the disclaimer. It's kind of fun. I always aspire to do that. Oh, excellent. And let's get to Franklin, who's on the line. Hey, Franklin, how are you doing today?
This is Al in Franklin Park.
Oh, it's
I'm doing
Al.
pretty good.
I'm sorry, Al. I was reading the Franklin Park part. I was sorry, I was distracted. Hi, Al. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm hanging in there. I was going to say a few things. You know, there's a lot going out there, a lot of activism, as one of the last callers said, with Indivisible. And the other place you can go is to mobilize.us. And
I've heard about that, yes.
And that will tell you everything that is going on in your area. And the other nice thing about mobilize.us is that you can go to the filter and you can enter a city, and I'm not sure about a zip code, of anywhere in the U.S. and find out what is going on there. So I am going to start using that to try to find out and tell friends and family who aren't around here what they can get involved in, and so on and so forth. So that was a major one. One kind of silly thing, well, it's not silly at all, but I accidentally, instead of spelling mobilize correctly with an I put an O in for the first S. And that took me to a scam.
Oh no!
And so be careful. So don't misspell mobilize. And it was squawking and telling me, someone's trying to enter your PC.
You get those alerts
so on and so forth. And
you're going to get locked.
Do not shut off your PC, so on and so forth. And what you had to do was do a hard reset on your PC, because it was like a browser worm or something like that. So that got me real good on that one. And so that's just this interesting. And then I went and I found somebody does own that a web address that was spelled incorrectly, and I could bid on buying it, but you just got to really watch out for this stuff when you're online.
Well, thank you. That's a really good point to make, and especially now with so many people taking advantage of the situation. You gotta be aware and informed. Thank you so much, Al.
Okay, that's nice. I was on Tom today, and I was on Joan today, and both times I had more to say, and it was at the end of the show or whatever, so I got slammed in, and I got more to say, too, so I'll call you back one of these days.
Oh, I appreciate it. Sorry about that. Yep, I've got it. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Take care of yourself, and I'm grateful for that information. You got to be careful with the scams, folks. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with me and Dan Schaefer. Any last thoughts before we wind down the show with my little jazzy end of the show music?
Thank you for texting me today.
Yeah, I'm glad you came in. You should message me and say, hey, you got some room for me?
I will be here whenever you want me.
Excellent.
This is perfect.
Appreciate it. Thank you again to our sponsors, Source Solar. Go to source.solar. Minocqua Brewing Company, MinocquaBrewingCompany.com. Kids Above All, KidsAboveAll.org. And our friends at the Wayback Inn, AreYouReallyWinning.com. Have a great weekend. Randy Rhodes is up next, followed by Matt McNeil. Love you, Lady B. Take care.
Love you, Lady B.
Love you, Roosevelt. Sorry, more.